Hello, YouTubers and the God's owners. I am going to read Acts chapter 15. Turn the fan off so it don't make noise up in the camera. Acts 15:1. A certain man which came down from Judea taught the brethren and said, Except ye be circumcised after the manner of Moses, ye cannot be saved. Wherein therefore Paul and Barnabas had no small dissension and disputation. Guy come in quoting the old scripture. Paul and Barnabas going to set it straight on what the scripture means now. Disputation with them. They reminded that Paul and Barnabas and certain other of them should go up to Jerusalem unto the apostles and elders about this question. These guys just handed it up to the bigwigs of town instead of arguing out the points. And being brought on their way by the church, they passed through Phoenicia and Samaria, declaring the conversation of the Gentiles. And they caused great joy unto all the brethren. And when they were come into Jerusalem, they were received of the church, and of the apostles, and of the elders. And they declared all things that God had done with them. Talking about their miracles they've been working, healing the sick and so forth, as their travels going throughout the towns. But there rose up a certain of the set of the Pharisees, which believed, saying that it was needful to circumcise them, and to command them to keep the law of Moses. And I think these guys might be wanting to circumcise old Paul and Barnabas, the way that reads. But there rose up certain of the set of the Pharisees, which believed, saying that it was needful to circumcise them. I don't know if we're talking about people in general, or Paul or Barnabas, but I'm going to read that as probably aiming that at Paul or Barnabas. And to command them to keep the law of Moses. And the apostles and the elders came together for to consider this matter. And when they had been much disputing, Peter rose up and said unto them, Men and brethren, ye know how that a good while ago God made choice among us, that the Gentiles by my mouth should hear the word of the gospel, and believe. And God, which knoweth the hearts, bear them witness, giving them the Holy Ghost, even as he did unto us, and put no difference between us and them, purifying their hearts by faith. Now therefore, why tempt ye God, and put a yoke upon the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear? But we believe that through the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ we shall be saved, even as they. Now I'm assuming what we're talking about here is we're talking about doing away with the law of Moses, and doing away with the habit or the covenant of circumcision. Nowhere that I can think of did Christ try to do away with this covenant. And we all know with the place where Christ talks about he did come to change the law one jot or tittle, but he came to fulfill the law. But you could read that in two different ways now. What if, something he did fulfills it, is no longer need for the old part? So you can run around chasing your tail on that forever and ever. But I find it peculiar, given what Christ once spoke about Peter. Peter's the one standing up saying this, and Christ is getting on to Peter. When Peter didn't want Christ to go up to the town to where he was going to be crucified, and Christ starts telling him a lot of stuff that ain't got nothing to do with what Peter just spoke to him, telling him that he's after the things of men and not the things of God, and it comes down pretty hard on him. So, with that thought in our heads as we read this, that Christ he did point out that Peter was earthly. So here we are talking about cutting some guys' schwankers so that they may be circumcised, and they're all pretty upset about it, and I can understand that, because it's bad enough to have your schwanker cut on when you're a little bitty kid, yet you can't remember it, but for a grown man to do that, it's fearful, it's painful, and I think it may have a lot to do with motivation, not to be funny, but it may have a lot to do with motivation as to why these people are coming up with these reasons why we don't need this circumcisional law anymore. Okay, that being said, or we may be talking now about not Peter or Paul, we may be talking about these Gentiles, because Peter just kind of brought in the Gentiles, so it may be them. Either way, if the covenant holds true as part of what you have to do to declare the law of Moses, then they're going to have to be susceptible to that covenant as well, the way I see it. But where they're seeing it is, let's let them out of the covenant deal, which is probably a whole big long story for another day. But anyway, that being said, and all the multitude kept silent, and they gave audience to Barnabas and Paul, declaring what miracles and wonders God hath wrought among the Gentiles by them. That's kind of aiming toward the Gentiles there too. So maybe that's who we're talking about. He's the old snipperoonie. Now, and after they had held their peace, James answering, saying, Men and brethren, hearken unto me. Simon hath declared how God at the first did visit the Gentiles. Now, Simon may be the one that was a sorcerer. You never know. We got so many Simons. We got Peter Simon. But we're not talking about Peter Simon here. Here's the surname, but this could be the guy that's a known sorcerer that's now coming over with Paul's bunch, his gang. That hath declared how God at the first did visit the Gentiles to take out of them a people for his name, and to this agree the words of the prophets, as it is written, After this I will return and will build again the tabernacle of David, which is fallen down. And I will build again the ruins thereof, and I will set it up. And the residue of men might seek after the Lord, that the residue of men might seek after the Lord, and all the Gentiles upon whom my name is called, saith the Lord, who doeth all these things, known unto God are all his works from the beginning of the world. Wherefore my sentence is, that we trouble not them which from among the Gentiles we turn to God, but that we write unto them, and they abstain from pollutions of idols, and from fornication, and from these strangled, and from things strangled. I guess that's to do with unclean meat. Because when you killed meat back in the old days, if you didn't bleed it right, it was, I guess they call that strangled meat, and it was, and from blood, and it means the blood is still in, it's polluted. Blood putrefies, and so on and so forth, not a clean thing to eat. Now, the Moses of old time, for Moses of old time hath in every city them that preach him, being read in the synagogues every Sabbath day. Then pleased it the apostles and the elders with the whole church to send chosen men of their own company to Antioch with Paul and Barnabas, namely Judas, surnamed Barnabas, and Silas, chief men among the brethren. And they wrote letters by them, which this manner the apostles and elders and brethren send greeting unto the brethren which are of the Gentiles in Antioch and Syria and Cilicia, forsomuch as we have heard that certain which went out from us have troubled you with words, subverting your souls, saying, Ye must be circumcised and keep the law, to whom we gave no such commandment. It seemed good unto us, being assembled with one accord, and send chosen men unto you with our beloved Barnabas and Paul, men that have hazarded their lives for the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. We have sent therefore Judas and Silas, who shall also tell you the same things by mouth. For it seems good to the Holy Ghost and to us to lay upon you the greater burden than these necessary things, that ye abstain from matters offered to idols, and from blood, and from things strangled, and from fornication, from which if ye keep yourselves, ye shall do well, fare ye well. Talking about if you keep away from all these dirty, sinful things and unclean things, you'll do well. Which I find kind of ironic, because those unclean foods like meats and so forth, it comes from the very writings of Paul that everybody uses to dismantle those laws so they can dabble in the unclean meats and foods and so on and so forth. And so you don't do well, and everybody's sick. People's got cancers and whatnot. Primarily from writings of this guy right here, Paul. And here he is, telling them, hey, if y'all keep away from this fornication, this strangled meat and all this stuff, you're going to do well. Why didn't he say that in the book of Timothy when he was writing that in Timothy's name? Interesting. So when they were dismayed, they come to Antioch, and when they had gathered the multitude together, they delivered the apostles the epistle, which when ye had read, they rejoiced for, an epistle's a letter, rejoiced for the consolation. And Judas and Silas, being prophets, also themselves exhorted the brother with many words and confirmed them. Talking about the words of the letter. Confirm the letter. And after they had tarried, and after they had tarried there a space, they were let go into peace from the brethren of the apostles, notwithstanding it pleased Silas to abide there still. Paul also and Barnabas continued in Antioch, teaching and preaching the word of God of the Lord, and with many others also. And some days after Paul said unto Barnabas, Let us go again and visit our brethren in every city where we have preached the word of the Lord, and see how they do. We're going to check back on them, see how that Holy Ghost is hanging on them. And Barnabas determined to take with them John, whose surname is Mark. But Paul thought not good to take him with them. Why would he want John there to see and witness these things? Curious. Who departed with them from Philadelphia and went not with them to the work. Now, I'm sure that nobody's seen his video is probably going to think what I'm thinking on this, but to me, John ain't in the glitch here. John's not going to see the miracles the same way that Paul's gang sees them. Probably not going to call the witness to it like his pods would see it, but he mentioned it. He had to make notion of the fact that John didn't go. But for there it is. What didn't he want him to see? Did he just think John had something better to do somewhere else? Could be something simple as that. Could also be he wanted to be surrounded by his posse. his posse of witches and what do you call them, sorcerers, guys like that, that he could control or manipulate, or however you want to say that, or however I want to say it. And maybe he wanted John out for that reason. Who can say? Just put it there for what it is. And departed from them from Philadelphia, and went not with them to the work. And the contention was so sharp between them that they departed asunder one from the other. And so Barnabas took Mark and sailed into Cyprus, and Paul chose Silas and departed, being recommended by the brethren unto the grace of God. And he went through Syria and Cilicia, confirming the church. So it seems like there's, from there, what it is saying right there, and they departed asunder one from the other. And so Barnabas took Mark and sailed. It's saying, and the contention was so sharp between them. So apparently these guys, these apostles, they're arguing amongst each other about who's all going to get to go on this trip and who's not. And that's kind of an important thing, because why the argument? Why would Paul want these guys hanging out with him? So just something to think about there. It's like Paul had to have his group. He had to have things a certain way, and I think he had to have it his way to give himself validity. And so there that is. That is Acts 15. And this video went long, like most of them are going these days. And I'm going to start getting this one on the YouTube. And when I come back, we will be in Acts, I think it was 15 or so. No, 16 probably. Acts 16. Okay, guys. Peace out.